Where you live, physically, where you live has a very huge impact on who you become, but more importantly, whether you create wealth for yourself. Now, in London, we have a very interesting way of living. Various parts of London have various demands, and we have a different mix of demographics. In the central part of London, we have the best prime real estate, meaning that you have more of the affluent and the wealthy live in a concentrated area. And one of the things I've learned over the last few years as I've studied, but also as I've gone into investing, is this, that the choice of your neighborhood decides whether you become wealthy or financially free. Now, I'm going to say that again. Your choice of neighborhood, where you live, decides how quickly and if you become financially free. Now, I'm going to give you an example. I know someone, and I was talking to someone a while back, and they chose a part of London called Chelsea. That's where they live in London. It's a lovely part of London. If you know London, then perhaps you know of Chelsea. Unfortunately, this young person, who is probably more like a protege to me, someone that I mentor, not formally, but someone who asks questions every now and then, and I give my opinion. Now, to paint the picture for you, let me give you some information. They earn about £2,000 net every month. They spend, or rather, they rent. They do not own a home. They rent. And they spend approximately, from what they earn, about 60% of what they earn every month. Meaning that they're paying about 1,200. I think they mentioned either 1,200 or 1,400, I'm not really sure. And part of the reason is because Chelsea is a very prominent area. Now, during my conversation with him, I asked the question. I said, why did you choose Chelsea? And he said, I love the neighborhood is beautiful and there's so many wealthy people around. But what I found was interesting is, in addition to how much they spend, he spends roughly about 30%, roughly 25 to 30% on clothing. Meaning that they're spending about £500, if you were to use that amount, on clothing. Why? Because when you choose a neighborhood, you also choose a lifestyle. You can't have one without the other. If you live in an affluent neighborhood, then you have all the posh shops, you have the coffee shops, you have the cool bars, you have the nice supermarkets, the expensive places, and you don't want to feel outdone. You want to dress like the people around you. The problem is you're trying to keep up with the Joneses. Interestingly, those in Chelsea are not Joneses. Some are, but some are not. What I found remarkable, and this is where there's a lack of financial understanding. Now, taking all of that, that means that they have roughly about £300 left, which they use for transportation, feeding, general stuff, which is not enough. Now, if we take £150 per month for travel, that leaves £150 left. If you take out, let's just say we're being conservative, £100 for feeding, that leaves £50. You see, that doesn't leave you money to even live. And I thought for a few minutes, and I started to question. In my heart, I started to question some of the decisions being made. Now, I didn't correct him. I wasn't my place. I hadn't been asked for my opinion. And even if I had, it wasn't, right to actually say what I felt. But here is the point I want to talk to you about. Financial wisdom is something that we all need. We need financial wisdom. Because wisdom is what directs your future. Here are some of my personal beliefs. I believe that if you're paying more than between 30 and 35% on rent, or a mortgage, 30% of your net income, I think there's a problem. There is a problem. Part of the reason I say that is simply because it's a matter of perspective. Now, every coin has three sides. You have the heads, you have the tail, but you also have the edge. So you can see life from one side, you can see life from another side. And I'm going to try and deal with both sides because that's really where intelligence can be found. Stand on the edge and look at both. I'm going to start by looking at one side and then I'll deal with the other side. In looking at this side, I'm looking about financial freedom. Because I think on one side you have wealth and on the other side you have poverty and dependence. I believe if you want to create financial wealth, you shouldn't spend more than 35% as a max on your rent or your mortgage. Why? Because I believe in a principle that I call 65-35. This means you invest 35% of your net income and you live on 65%. This 35 goes to 10% for active investing, 10% for passive investing, 10% for charity, and 5% for investing in your mind to create more. That's my opinion. The 35% is then becomes what you use to cover all of your lifestyle choices. Now, if we go back to the example I gave before, my friend was spending 60% on rent. Actually, I use the word friend, but we're not really friends. I should use more of the word acquaintance, but I'm going to use the word friend to make it more perhaps applicable to what we're talking about. This means that if he were to go by this principle, he would only have 5% left. And this is not enough. So, unfortunately, they would have to pull out a lot from this 35%. They would say, well, we can't invest in our mind. We don't have enough money. We can't give 10% to charity. We don't have enough. We can't invest passively or actively. We don't have enough. So we need the money. So what they end up doing, because in the previous board I had, they have zero left. They can't invest. Now here is the formula for poverty, so you can understand how significant this is. Poor people earn, and once they're done earning, the first thing they do is spend. Unfortunately, they spend everything and they have nothing left, so they can't save. This is the equation or formula for poverty. You earn, but the first thing you do is spend and then you save. If you're one of those, like I used to be, I used to have my expenses greater than my income. So at the end of the month, I had nothing to save. That's how my friend was living. And part of the reason for that was because he chose a lifestyle and a neighborhood that made it really difficult for him to start to build wealth. Now, in my opinion, did he have to live in Chelsea? Maybe, maybe not. In my opinion, if he had traveled just half an hour away from Chelsea to another part of London, he could have found a space. Now, let me promise you of something. If you're paying 1,200 to live in Chelsea, you're probably getting a studio flat that is no greater than 50 square meters. In other words, actually, I'll be honest and I'll be a lot more realistic here. You're probably not getting a studio flat that is greater than 32 square feet. Yeah, probably about 32 square meters, not square feet. That's all you're getting. It can't be more than that. 32 is even probably me being generous. It's normally just a room with maybe with a closet and a bathroom. So it's, you know, room size in London normally averages probably about 12 square meters. Add a bathroom, probably 6 square meters. Add a hallway, closet, probably roughly about 20. So this is probably too high. This is probably about 20, 25. Now this is not comfortable enough. If they move to somewhere just about 30 minutes away, still within easy transportation from London to get to where they want to get to, they can probably get an apartment, a room, or a house, or flat for maybe about 60 square meters, and they could pay only 30% of their net income. So instead of paying 1,200, they could pay 600, for example, for 60 square meters. But what that does is it allows them to have £600. Now, £600 from you earning £2,000 means that automatically you have about 30% that you can put into investing. Now, let me show you how powerful this is so you understand. For someone earning £2,000, if you earn £2,000 per month and you invest, let's just say you invest 20% of this, which is £400 per month. If you invested £400 per month in 40 years, this will earn you about 1.28. No, this in 40 years, this will earn you probably about 1.15 million in 40 years. That 1.5 million is based on you putting it in an investment that pays 10% compounded every year. At the end of the 40 years, if you put that back into a 10% interest investment, it will pay you £115 per year as income, and you still retain the 1.15 million. The point of this I'm making is this: when you choose a neighborhood, you choose a lifestyle. That lifestyle will either do one of two things. It will cause you to become more of a consumer, or it will cause you to be more of an investor. The choice of neighborhood and lifestyle that this individual chose made it difficult for him to invest. So what we then have is someone who is now dependent on earning more money, and they do it through a job, which is the worst way to earn money. So the point I'm trying to make is this: it's all about allocation of resources. Now, I'm one of those people who I believe that you are an average of the people you spend the most time with. Therefore, the quality of the people you hang around with will decide your success. In the area of Chelsea or any other area, or any other area of London, what people in my age demographics fail to understand is that a lot of the people who own homes in those areas, they bought their homes before the property prices went up. A lot of them bought their homes when they became wealthy. So whilst we walk around and we look at people, we're dealing with people who are wealthy and they're still living within their means. Or they bought the home when it was very cheap and they're living within their means. And many people in my age group have failed to see and understand that one of the keys to wealth is spend less than you earn and invest the rest. In other words, live within your means and then start expanding your means. So what we do is we're trying to keep up with other people's lifestyles. We don't earn as much. We're not wealthy, but we want to dress like we're wealthy. We want to act like we're wealthy, but we don't have enough. We're not financially free. We're financially dependent. We need a job. Now, that pressure we put on ourselves means that we hold on to security from a job. And the more you cling on to security, the more you walk away from freedom. Now, I'm going to argue the other side of the table now, or the coin. And it's this. Yes, you are an average of the people you hang around, but I'm of the opinion as well that although association is more powerful than hereditary or your genes, you've got to choose your associations wisely. Now, on average, you have 24 hours a day. 8 hours is usually spent, for most people, sleeping. We spend 10 hours or between 10 and 12 hours at work. And by this I mean pre-work, meaning you spend an hour getting ready in the morning for work, you spend between 2 and 3 hours traveling to and from work, and then you spend about 8 hours in the office. So you have 1 hour to get ready, between 2 and 3 hours to travel to and from work, 8 hours in the office. So that's 12 hours maximum, pre, post, and travel. And then we spend about between 4 and 5 hours on various things, social media, interaction, etc. And that leaves us with very little at the end. So this is what we call nighttime. This is what we call your waking day. Now, most people wake up at 7 and they get back home probably about 7 or 6, meaning the whole waking day, half of it is gone. So every day you only have maybe about, if you take away perhaps preparing for the next day, looking after your family, interacting with your family, you probably have only about 0.5 hours for social interaction within your local area. Now, it will vary for various people. It's only during the weekends that you can then interact a little bit more. You go shopping, you go out to your local cafe, you sit down. But on a normal work day, most people, when they travel back home, if you have a family, you just want to spend your time with the family. You might go out, but not for long. So the association power you have is limited. It's limited. Now, if you're paying 60% of what you earn, all in the name of more association, I'm surrounding myself with people who are wealthy, you're not interacting with them. Association is only powerful through influence. Are they helping you think, right? Are you learning new habits from them? Are you learning new lifestyle choices from them? Are you learning new character traits from them? Because if you're not doing any of that, you're not growing, you're not learning from them. You're just looking at them. You're looking at the cars and saying, I wish, without you saying, hey, can I sit down with you for coffee? Can you teach me and show me how you became wealthy? That is association. That is allowing influence to come into your life. So to pay 60% for half an hour every day, I would question that. I would think, on the other hand, that if you were to move away half an hour, maybe from where you are right now, find somewhere more affordable, drop this down to 30%. You have 30% available. Invest 25% if you want, and take 5% to cover transportation and entertainment to allow you to travel from your new location back to that area that you would want to live in. So you can still interact with them, but you're doing it now based on a lifestyle choice that will allow you to create wealth. Because here is the point. If you spend all you have and you have zero left, and you meet someone who is wealthy and they tell you about a great opportunity, you're going to really hate yourself if you don't have money to join that investment. But on the other hand, if you were to live away, you're saving, rather you're investing, and someone talks to you about a potential opportunity to create wealth, now you can say, I can join. I have some amount set aside. I can join. So the point I'm making here is this. Where you live makes a huge difference. Now, the other side of the coin is this. It's all about perspective. Now, for some people, they want fulfillment. They want happiness. They want joy. They want excitement. They want to live. They want to live in today. And guess what? There's nothing wrong with that. So, it's all about choosing what you feel is right for you. I've looked at this from one side. The opposite side is simply that perhaps the person doesn't want to own a flat, is not interested in creating wealth, is happy just being happy, loves the environment because of how it makes them feel, gets inspired. Maybe their inspiration comes from seeing all these people who are doing well. Inspiration comes from living in a safe, secure environment. No problem. The point is this, that they might get inspiration that far exceeds anything they might get any other place. So they couldn't move half an hour away. They hate the location. They're uninspired. It's not safe. They're worried. They're thinking about safety. And so they're not happy. Therefore, anything that steals away your happiness is something you should walk away from. So, in other words, it's a way of saying this, that if you want something in life, you're going to have to give something. On the other hand, if you like what you have, then you don't have to change. But I believe we're all supposed to grow. And anyone who says, I like things just the way they are, in many ways is advertising their level of ignorance, meaning that one of the principles and laws of life is everything moves, everything changes, nothing stays the same. We're either growing every day or we're dying. That could be growing in ideas, thoughts, feelings, or physically, or we're dying. So it's not about what's right or wrong. Initially, I started by talking about wealth. In relation to wealth building, in relation to giving you a competitive advantage, in relation to allowing you to build a future, I'm of the opinion that your lifestyle and your choice of neighborhood could be a hindrance to you becoming wealthy. On the other hand, if you have no desire to be wealthy, if you have only a desire to look after yourself and perhaps not make a change in the universe, not give away money, not encourage and support your local charity, you don't have any thoughts or passion for any of that, then all you have to do is look after yourself. And that could simply mean you have a secure job, of which there's no such thing as a secure job. Perhaps you have a rented flat, a small flat, owned or let or leased, and you're happy, and that's fine. But it's about choosing what works for you. I would say this as I conclude. We're supposed to become the best that we can be. That's the reason why we're here on this journey. And that means growth in every area of life. The question is, should you love more if you could? Yes. Should you give more if you can? Yes. Should you earn more? Yes. Should you become wealthy? Yes, if you could. Should you become more successful, happy? Should you be in a better relationship and keep growing? Yes. To do all of that, sacrifice is needed. Now, Warren Buffett, the second wealthiest man in the world, is worth about £76 billion, still lives in the house that he bought for about $30,000 or $40,000 so many years ago. Now, it's not a matter about whether he can afford it or not. I think it's about how you feel. And I think when you're setting your goals, one of the things you have to do is ask yourself a question: how would this make me feel? Now, if setting a goal to become wealthy doesn't make you feel good, then it means the vision you have for the future is perhaps distorted. On the other hand, if the vision you set is beautiful and it makes you feel great, then you might be able to sacrifice what is needed. From my experiences and having tried a few things in life, though I haven't lived long enough, I've come to the realization that there is no joy in things. Items and accessories don't make you happy. Your true happiness comes from the state of your mind, your thoughts, your feelings. It comes from within. Everything outside cannot make you happy. What you are on the outside comes from what you are on the inside. So if you're making decisions in terms of fulfillment and happiness and joy and freedom and excitement based on all these external things, they will change. Let it come from within. Let that excitement and that passion and that inspiration come from within, because that's the only place that is guaranteed to stay and remain. And the flow is always available. So whatever you choose, however you choose to live, understand something, that your decisions create wealth. And the poor decisions or indecisions you make will lead to poverty. I hope that's been useful.